Do you think, Dr. Blecher, do you think the reason why PEDs are so prominent is because they're still not testing for growth hormone quite yet?
Well, that's one, but there are many out there. I think the testing policies that are in place are really not designed to catch people yet. They are at the Olympic level, but in our professional sports, they're not. They're designed to have the sports say that they're doing something about it, but they're really not designed to actually catch people.
What sports are more prevalent than others in terms of PEDs? As far as what would you say the sports that you say it's rampant in these particular sports?
Again, it's hard to know because I think it exists everywhere, and where there's media attention, it will seem like it's prevalent, such as in baseball at the moment or football in years past, but I think it's everywhere.
And I'm not asking for names, but why do they do it?
Follow the money. Always follow the money. Let's take, for example, some of these names that, and we don't have to mention the names, but when you look at Major League Baseball, for example, you know, I'll mention one. Alex Rodriguez. He's suspended from the New York Yankees. Okay? It's going to end up costing him in excess of $40 million.
Wow.
But let's remember, he signed for 275 with bonuses that could propel it to 300.
Yeah.
I think he'll get over the $40 million.
He'll squeeze by.
You know what I'm saying? So again, it's not like, unless you can retroactively go about the business of getting your money back because they misrepresented their position, the fact is, one would argue that it pays to cheat. In some instances, because that's an example of it. You look at professional football players. You don't want to sit there and label percentage-wise who's using what, but you look at a sport like that and you somewhat understand, well, I got to get through injuries. I've got to go out there on the field the next day. I've got to show myself to be healthy enough to do this despite the violence, despite the punishment to my body. So I'm trying to get through there. Why? So I can continue to play and I can continue to get paid. You look at tennis, you look at golf. Well, if somebody finds a way to get an edge, especially if they don't get caught, they still have an edge. Even if you do get caught, again, it's not like you go to them and say, well, you have to give us the money back. So sometimes the biggest deterrent to cheating is when you're going to be punished in a manner that's not only going to cost you the money that you were scheduled to earn, but if it will cost you the money you had already earned. But if you don't have that, if you don't have that deterrent, you don't have that impediment, then on far more situations than we would like, one would argue it's worth the risk.
I've had patients who have used performance-enhancing drugs or anabolic steroids, and with so many clear athletic benefits and potentially monetary benefits, what do you tell your patients or an athlete who is considering doing that or is already doing it?
Yeah, that's hard. I mean, you know, obviously from a medical perspective, I have to convince them not to do it, and that's very hard to do. I think the medical establishment lost a lot of credibility for many years denying that anabolic steroids work, when clearly they do. So I think you have to, you know, first admit that a lot of these performance-enhancing drugs actually do work. And once you've established that, I think then you have a little bit more reliability in what you're telling them, and you just have to come at it from, you know, I don't recommend that you do this, and if you're going to do it, we need to know what are the possible side effects, and there's a limit. You know, more is not necessarily better, more is potentially dangerous. But, you know, getting into the athlete's psyche and trying to turn them off of these things is very difficult. There was a anonymous survey several years ago of future Olympians, and they questioned, you know, if you had the ability to take a performance-enhancing drug and you were guaranteed you were not going to get caught, and it would get you a gold medal, would you do it? And 80% of them said they absolutely would. 80%. 80%. They then asked the question again and said, okay, you can take the performance-enhancing drug, you're going to win the gold medal, but you're also going to die from the side effects of this drug. Would you do it? And still, the majority of them still said yes. It is very difficult to turn them off from that. You know, athletes believe that they've already put so much into their sport in terms of time and training and everything else, and that needs to be validated. And whether that's validated with money or it's validated with a gold medal, you know, something needs to validate that. And if they have to do whatever they have to do to get that, they're going to do it.
Is the chemist still ahead of the people administering the drug testing? Because people are beating these tests.
Absolutely.
Especially in track and field. You know, I'm a former track guy, I love sprinting, compete against it my whole collegiate career, and I believe that there's still a lot of sprinters that are on the stuff and have incredible chemists.
Absolutely. And the chemists are always going to be ahead, and I think the only way that you are able to to work against that is what we're doing now, where you're able to save the samples for years. So, okay, we can't test for whatever you're taking now, but we're going to be able to figure out how to test for it 5, 10, 20 years from now, and we're going to hold on to your sample, and when we do test it and we do find it, we're going to take away your gold
Is there a
medal.
statute of limitations on that?
Well, there's a statute of limitations on how long we can go with this conversation.